Welcome to ThriverTv, the place to break free from narcissistic abuse with quantum tools and understandings. So I don't know if anybody else from Melbourne is like me and got the flu at the moment. I know lots of people that have got the flu, and I was up all night coughing, hardly any sleep, going for the sympathy vote. No, not really. Powering on. And as always, really happy to bring you this next ThriverTv episode. But if I cough or sneeze, I've got the tissues sitting there, you will understand why. So this week's ThriverTv episode is a really important one because within the narcissistic abuse community, people are really big-hearted. There are many people who love to be compassionate and have empathy and give and help others, and that's a really beautiful human part of life. However, there is nothing, I believe, more dangerous than when we are giving to a narcissist and we're trying to fix them and we're trying to help them and we're getting shredded to pieces in the meantime. And that is what narcissistic abuse is so much about. And we can be trying to help the narcissist perhaps in really practical ways. So we're mopping up the messes, and people who are like most codependent people that jump in and help have really great integrity, and they're people who are will keep the roofs over their heads, and they will keep the fires burning and the food on the tables. And we might be doing that frenetically, and yet we're with a narcissist who we're enmeshed with, who is behaving in just really irresponsible and crazy and dumb ways that we just can't fathom, that are forever threatening the security of all of the structures and creating financial stresses and disasters and debt and all sorts of things. So we might be doing things like paying the narcissist fines because they just continue to speed or they continue to park illegally. Or maybe they're in business and they're doing really disreputable things that just keeps biting them on the bum. But we're the person that's jumping in and taking responsibility for it. I remember with narcissist number one, he was in business for himself and he was incredibly disreputable. He would do shonky works. He was always being pulled into VCAT. And of course, I'd be up after hours working on court cases, doing anything and everything I can as the good little fixer I was to try and, keep ourselves afloat in amongst all of that craziness. And you might be doing things like working double time because you're trying to pay for the narcissist's latest, shiniest toy. Because even if narcissists aren't disreputable in business, what is common for most of them, a lot of them, is because of the egoic need to have a claim and superiority and status, is that they're going to live beyond their means and they're going to feel entitled to stuff. And when they feel entitled to stuff, they're just going to get stuff because they need that to feed the ego, regardless of the consequences. So apart from the practical ways that we might be trying to fix and help the narcissist, we might be doing this, we might be taking responsibility in emotional ways as well. And I think for a lot of us, what happened was there were times where we saw the broken inner child, and it can be a little bit different to differentiate between whether it's crocodile tears, whether the narcissist is simply feigning helplessness and powerlessness to get the sympathy vote, to get narcissistic supply when other methods haven't worked, to get our attention, our focus back, especially if we're leaving or we've had enough. Or occasionally it can actually be real that in narcissistic injury that the narcissist suffers a trauma that is so huge that momentarily all of their internal resources are taken up in trying to survive that trauma, and they don't have the energy or the ability to maintain the false self, the egoic defenses, which are all part and parcel of narcissism. So what can happen in those times of narcissistic injury, which doesn't last long, sadly, is that the mask will drop and the real broken true self, the young shattered unhealed child will appear. And for those of us who are empathetic and loving and natural type healer people, what happens is we want to pick, our heart breaks for that broken inner child, and we want to pick up the narcissist and we pledge our love and our allegiance, and I'll hang in there and I'll back you to the end and I'm never leaving you, and all of those things. And what's happened to us just tends to go right out the window in those times. We are just fully super present for this broken inner child. However, sadly, it doesn't last, and within an amount of time, when the narcissist can get enough outside energy, the narcissistic defenses will go straight back up again, and it'll be back to narcissistic business as usual. Often worse, actually, because the narcissist wants to gain more power and control because of that vulnerability that did happen previously, that the narcissist's false self is mortified about. And the narcissist will often lash back harder after those times as a result of that. So I want you to imagine this metaphor, because it's a really powerful one in the case of taking responsibility for a narcissist. I want you to imagine that you are caretaking a vegetable and a fruit garden that is constantly under siege of parasites, that it's been created in such a disheveled way that certain parts are getting sun and others are getting too much shade, and it's just difficult. It's difficult. And you are forever focused in this garden trying to put out fires, trying to rearrange things, trying to get rid of parasites that just keep coming back. And the owner of this garden has taken zero responsibility for it. They're not doing anything about tending or looking after the garden. You're the person tending and looking after it. And as a result of your focus trying to survive this garden and make this garden work, your own garden, when you look back over the fence at your own garden, your garden is withered up, dried up, and it's died. So you're only left with the possibility of being nourished from this garden. And the problem is with this garden is you're putting in effort and resources that are way beyond the yield that you get, because it's toxic and it's got problems. And also too, the owner of the garden has to be happy to share with you. And the owner of the garden, because they don't have the ability or the integrity or just the resources to take responsibility, they're not actually responsible for themselves. They're not responsible for others, and they'll only share with you in entitled, agenda-based ways. So there's even a greater price to pay for you being fully involved in this garden. And this is the exact results that happen to all of us as adults when we take responsibility for other adults who are refusing to take responsibility for themselves. And this is one of the biggest trips of codependency, is a belief that if I can control and fix and change somebody else, well then I'm going to feel less out of control and I'm going to be happier and more solid and safer. However, it is the complete exact opposite. This is how it works. The more we try to control somebody in order to feel in control, the more out of control they become, and the more we will be controlled by them. And you might want to replay that, because it's really powerful when you get it. So this is not working. This is not happening for us. And narcissists, the quintessential part of a narcissist is they do not take responsibility. They're always blaming somebody or something else for their problems. They don't learn from the consequences. They don't learn. And the problem is, as non-narcissistic people, we're expecting them to behave like mentally ordered people. We expect them to understand that 2 + 2 = 4. If you do something and you don't like the results of that, well, then maybe you amend your behavior and you do something different. You learn from your mistakes. Narcissists don't learn from their mistakes. And there's another massive part of this, that nobody actually learns from their mistakes when somebody else is taking responsibility for them, because they don't have to. The roof's still over their head, the fires are burning, the food's still on the table. They don't have to change. But also too, they've actually been disempowered. We enable people to stay sick, and we get sick when we take responsibility for them, because they don't have the ability to grow up into the understanding of life's consequences and the necessity to anchor in and grow and get resourceful and solid and sensible and powerful and capable. We take that all away from people when we're taking responsibility for them. Now, I'm not talking about somebody that you've chosen to caretake, who is disabled, who doesn't have the resources. That's not what this conversation is about. Okay, that's a choice, and that person is like that. And we can say, well, yeah, narcissists are disabled as well. They're disordered, and that's very, very true. However, it's not even sustainable, because of the damage that occurs to you as a result of doing it. And there's something deeper playing out for you too, which I'm going to get to. I'm going to move on to that. So we need to understand that as parents, this actually changes the way we parent when we understand this, because we stop trying to smooth out all the wrinkles for our children. We stop trying to keep them safe from every possible pothole. We let them make mistakes. We let them screw up. We let them develop the resources to be powerful within their own being and their own capabilities. Of course we help, but we help people that help themselves, and if people don't want to help themselves, we allow them to suffer the consequences so that they can learn. And it's not even about suffering consequences. It's about up-leveling as a result of consequences and being a more structured, solid, sensible, productive self as a result of consequences. That actually is a huge difference between people that suffer from anxiety and depression and others that don't. Often is that ability to be that source to self. So, and we've been doing this for the narcissist, and I'm not saying that narcissists have got the resources. However, I will say this: if there was any narcissist on the planet who was going to start having the resources to be a healthy person, it would be because everybody else took their hands off, let them fall, and stopped feeding them a way out, and stopped fixing, saving, prescribing, lecturing, focusing on, trying to force. Just let them be in the desert on their own with their own crap. That would be the only time that they would start creating the resources to be aligned as a functional human being with life, which is what integrity is all about. So why have we been doing this for narcissists? Why have we been jumping in and fixing and feeling sorry for them and trying to help them to our own peril and destruction? We could argue that it's because we want to help. We're nice people. We don't want to see people suffer. We don't want to see people getting hurt and hurting others. We want to fix it. We want to change it. Or, you know, we've been wanting to, like I said before, we've been wanting to fix it for ourselves or our children, etc., etc. This is such an important key, such an important key. Whenever we're doing something, and I touched on it last week in the video, and I spoke about it, I'm saying it again. When we're doing something that is not unfolding healthily, that feels terrible in our body, that is bringing us pain and devastation, that is not durably working out or changing, we are in wrong town. And we know we're in wrong town because it's not working. So again, those reasons are all BS. They're not true reasons. Because we know whenever we're doing something, we're not getting durable results, it hurts, and we're making excuses and justifications to keep doing it, which is the definition of insanity. Really, it's unconsciousness. That's what insanity is. It means that we've got something deeper driving us that we're not aware of, that we haven't healed yet. And as such, we're not free from this compulsion to keep doing what hurts that isn't working in our life. And people might say, well, you know, giving selflessly is a beautiful thing to do. I want to give you a classic example of you being absolutely right about that. Mother Teresa was the epitome, the pinnacle of that. Mother Teresa selflessly gave her life to others. Now, her superconscious, her subconscious, and her conscious were all in harmony on that orientation, on that soul purpose. God approved of it. That was why she was here. Her higher self was totally in concert with that. Her subconscious beliefs were about that. I'm here to serve humanity. And her conscious mind wanted that. She wanted that. That's what gave her juice. That's what gave her joy. That's what gave her purpose. That's what gave her fame that she didn't even ask for, was because she was completely and totally aligned. Now, there's an example of when this is not wrong town. When we are connected with narcissists being butchered while we are giving, fixing, and trying to love them back to health, that is not what our superconscious wants for us. Our subconscious is deeply stuck in painful, traumatic beliefs that it's replaying, and our conscious mind isn't happy with it at all because we feel like crap and we're getting hurt. We're not aligned, and that's the alignment that we need to fix up. And what happens is when we go into our bodies and we start doing the work on this stuff, and in the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program, Module 6 is all about this work, exactly what we're talking about today. So when people are using NARP and Module 6 and going within, these are the sorts of things that they're coming up with. So the first are really big traumatic survival programs, which a lot of people carry from their childhood and or from their genetic DNA. And they're things like, if you can't be sensible and reliable, I'm not safe. The other one is, if I don't fix you, I am not going to survive. So these came from powerless, traumatized times where those beliefs were such great trauma, they created an imprint within the subconscious which believes that to be true, which is going to keep playing out that trauma. So what happens is when we're in that trauma, I used to be massively in one of those traumas. What happens is we choose people that need fixing and we cling on for dear death, for dear life, almost to our death, by trying to fix this person because we think if we don't, we can't survive. Now, if you think back to some childhoods and you think back to previous times that our ancestors may have endured, this was true. This was absolutely true. And our body, our emotional compositions may not have upgraded yet. They're not updated. That's why they're playing this out. The next ones are, and people find these all the time when they're stuck in this skirmish, this issue. The next one is about, if I don't do it, nobody else is capable enough to, it's all up to me. So these are like burden beliefs where we believe it's up to us. And these are really common ones that codependents can have. They're not as dramatic as the big survival programs, but they play out identically. Because then what happens is you are going to connect to somebody who's not capable, you're going to have all the burden, and you'll be running around triple time trying to hold it all together. That's how it works. And the other one, which can be very, very painful, is I am not deserving of others' love and support. I am here only to grant love and support to others. Now, again, this is not Mother Teresa. This is not a Mother Teresa belief. This is a very painful belief. And what that means is you are going to be the self-sacrificial martyr that keeps coming up empty, that is being diminished in your martyrdom. And again, it can play out with a narcissist in exactly this topic we're talking about today. So I really hope that's lifted the lampshade off for those people out there, and there will be many of you that, you know, feel heart connected to the narcissist. I actually had 5 requests last week to do this video, so I thought, yep, okay, yep, it was a really hot topic. So obviously it's a time where it's really big and we really need to look at it. So I'd love you to come over to the blog, because that's where we're doing all of our conversations now on the videos. So you can do that by clicking the link that appears on this video, or go to blog.melanietoniaevans.com and you will see this video there. So come over and let's chat about this. We had an awesome chat last week about last week's topic, so that's really cool. So I hope that's really helped give you clarity and relief to know that you can heal this, you can break out of this, so that your garden gets well and flourishes and you're not getting trashed anymore. So until the next video, you know what to do. Keep smiling, keep healing, keep thriving, because there's nothing else to do. So lots of love. Bye-bye.